What's up, y'all? It's your guy, eBay Fight Predictions in the building, and this is your Alex Pereira versus Jan Błachowicz breakdown. This is a phenomenal fight. I love this fucking fight. I really do love this fight. Alex Pereira, Potan, is making his light heavyweight debut, and he's moving up against the middleweight killer, Jan Błachowicz, and I love it. I mean, both guys are in legitimate, number one contender title talks. I mean, obviously, thinking about what happened to Jamal Hill, right, him vacating the belt. I mean, this is an opportunity of a lifetime for both guys. I mean, it was a good spot to be in. I think both guys are going to be promised a title shot going into this fight, but now I think that they're locked in for a title fight. And I don't know if they're hating on Uncle Live. I don't know what's going on with him, but it looks like if Alex Pereira wins this fight and knocks out Jan Błachowicz, or journeyman Jan Błachowicz, and I'll explain to you why I call him that, like how I think he is, he's in a title fight. And if he's able to win that fight, they will do the trilogy in the UFC between Israel Adesanya and Alex Pereira at light heavyweight. That is a fight they'll do in a heartbeat. So it's probably what we're looking at. But Alex Pereira is fighting a tough test though. Jan Błachowicz is right now, I think he's what is he? I think he's 1-3. He's 3-1 against middleweight or former middleweight contenders, and he's pretty much cleaned house against guys that everyone thought he was going to lose to. So it's actually a pretty good spot he's in. But yeah, let's see if he can do it again. Or will Alex Pereira be the difference maker? But in terms of stats, I mean, Jan Błachowicz comes with a record of 29-1 and 1. He's fighting out of Poland, age 40, a height of 6'2", and reach 78. Alex Pereira has a record of 7-2. Is fighting out of Connecticut, age 36, a height of 6'4", and a reach of 80. So Alex Pereira does have the reach advantage going into this matchup. And yeah, so like I was saying, this is obviously a film study breakdown, just to let you know before I get into anything else. But like I'm saying, in this matchup, it's going to be interesting because Jan Błachowicz, for him, there is a path of victory. Obviously, using his grappling and his MMA IQ, he can really win this fight. But on the feet, yeah, Alex Pereira is coming off a devastating knockout loss to Adesanya, but I think he's the better striker out of the two. Just being a two-time glory fucking kickboxing champion, I think it gives you that credit. Jan is a great striker too. He held his own against Adesanya on the feet, and he's probably one of the better strikers and leg kickers in the division, technically. But I just think Alex Pereira, being the more, traditional acclaimed kickboxer, I think he should be given the striking edge. He's the longer fighter, and yeah, he's coming up, but he's a big motherfucker. That guy looked humongous against along with Reyes when he took that picture and when they started training together. He's huge, and it's going to be really interesting to see how well these guys match up against each other on the feet. I think in the clinching and the grappling, I think Jan will have an edge, but obviously Alex Pereira is doing everything in his power to close that gap. With his grappling by working with guys like Glover Teixeira, and eventually that's gonna help him, But I think Jan can win this fight. He really can. All hate aside, Jan can really win this fight. Now I'll explain to you my issues with journeyman Jan Błachowicz and why he must pay. Now, I'm a Luke Rockhold and Corey Anderson fan. All right. And you guys, every time this motherfucker fights journeyman Jan Błachowicz, y'all want to repost that goddamn clip of him knocking my boys out. So he has to pay. And I'm a Rakic fan too. I also add fucking salt to the wound. But my overall point is journeyman Jan Błachowicz will be stopped. This fluky Mickey run will be stopped. And the fact that he's sustained this success in this division is insane, and it will be stopped. All right, it will be stopped. Alex Pereira will stop this man. But when I did my 3-fight film study breakdown for both guys, I looked at 3 specific fights. So let's talk about journeyman Jan Błachowicz. and his Mickey run. And when I did this 3-fight film study, I talked about a fight where they fought a similar opponent to their current opponent that they did well against, and they also did bad against in their most recent matchup. So for Jan, first thing that really comes to mind, Thiago Santos. Thiago Santos is really the only striker that is giving him problems, and was a former ranked middleweight that beat him. It was one of the only ranked middleweights that beat him when he was fighting against all these other former ranked middleweights. Interesting enough, nothing really happened in this fight. Jan actually did go for a takedown and didn't get the takedown here, but really it was a bit of a, feint contest, and they really didn't throw anything against each other. But really, story of this fight, Jan rushed and he got hit with a fading lead hook and got finished. That's kind of plays into Alex Pereira's game, just to be honest with you. And if Thiago Santos can do that to you, and obviously Thiago's a problem. He gave John Jones problems. He's a murderer. I'm not going to say Thiago Santos at light heavyweight is some schmuck. But if Thiago Santos can do that to you, just imagine what Alex Pereira will do to you. And the power that he has and the speed. A big part of the reason why Thiago Santos landed that punch was speed. And Alex Pereira is going to be the faster fighter out of the two. That's just a fact. Now, yeah. But let's talk about what Jan did well, though. When he fought Israel Adesanya. All right. Another great kickboxer that had transitioned to MMA very well and has made a legit run of being one of the greatest middleweights of all time.
Look at that.
I'm sorry about the volume. Now let's play. I thought Jan did a good job of striking with Adesanya those first 3 rounds, and he did a good job of mixing in the wrestling in this fight and just made it an MMA fight. He put a size on him, and he reminded Adesanya, hey, I'm a light heavyweight, and he was able to get takedowns and use his striking and his good, striking to mix in those takedowns and really find himself in good position. Now, Adesanya did do his thing in that 3rd round, hurt him a little bit, but after that, Jan kind of took over with the takedowns and the wrestling in the 4th and 5th round, and I just honestly feel like he used his size to his advantage and his technical prowess, right? So that's a big thing for Jan going into this Alex Pereira fight, is that he's going to have to use his striking to set up his takedowns. He's going to have to use his striking to set up his wrestling and his control. He is the naturally bigger guy. Technically, he's the more natural acclaimed light heavyweight. He's never made middleweight before, so he's going to have to use his size against Alex Pereira. And he has shown an ability to wrestle. Now, this was a long time ago when they fought. It's getting close to 2 years the last time for this fight. So my overall point is, Jan Błachowicz showed an ability to follow a strategy where he has to follow wrestling, right? And he did that. Jan isn't the greatest wrestler in the world, and he isn't the greatest grappler, and he's not 37 anymore. He's 40. So that's also something to think about. Can he replicate a hard-paced cardio fight where he has to use wrestling, he has to use his striking to set up his wrestling for 3 straight rounds for 15 straight minutes? If you haven't wrestled in a long time and you don't know how hard wrestling is, it's going to be hard to replicate that over and over and over again. It's just tough. And we saw it in his fight against Magomed Ankalaev where, obviously defensively, he's never been known as the greatest wrestler. That's why Glover Teixeira beat him. But in this fight against Ankalaev, he did so good in those first 3 rounds. I kind of gave the first round to Ankalaev watching it live. I thought Ankalaev landed the better shots on the feet, but Jan was setting up those leg kicks and putting in some investments with those leg kicks to set up the 2nd and 3rd round. But I thought Ankalaev won the first round. He landed the better shots. Good teep kick by Ank right here. But in that 2nd round, those leg kicks started to add up, and he started to break Ankalaev down with these leg kicks. And Ankalaev, you could see his legs were completely fucked, and he couldn't stand it. Jan had that title. He had that fight in the bag. But one of the biggest problems with him, because of those leg kicks, was it set up some takedowns from Ankalaev, and Ankalaev ended up taking over. Even though his legs were compromised and destroyed, you can see it right here. He ended up taking over with the wrestling late, and he made that fight more competitive and a draw, to be honest, going into that those scorecards. And he made it. Sorry for the interruption, y'all. It's just some bullshit with the phone. But yeah, like I was saying, Ankalaev made the fight closer. And, you know, some people feel like he won. I thought he won watching it live, but I can see a draw. It makes sense what happened there. But, again, Jan's lack of defensive wrestling was the end. Now, obviously, we know Jan's a good offensive wrestler, but he hasn't done that in a very long time. And it's going to be, I'm not going to say it's going to be hard for him to go out there and do that to Alex Pereira, who is probably one of the most devastating punchers in the UFC in general. But I don't know. It's going to be tough. Obviously, he had a close fight with Ankalaev, which shows that he's still there. I think in the striking, he'll be a problem. But again, Alex Pereira should have the edge. And grappling at the age of 40 for a natural striker for 15 straight minutes, I think it's a tall task to ask for a guy like Jan Błachowicz. But let's look at the 3 fights I looked for Alex Pereira, and let's talk about the Bruno Silva fight. This was the fight where Jan Błachowicz should be looking at his chops. Look at these takedowns that Bruno was able to get. He got the first takedown there. Now, obviously, it didn't win him the fight. Alex Pereira did outstrike Bruno and hurt him multiple times. He was able to use pressure, and another takedown by Bruno there. But he was able to use pressure to kind of win this fight. He was the better striker. But Bruno, he fought hard, man. He did his thing, and he threw his own strikes. But his wrestling is what really helped him get the takedowns. But here, Alex Pereira was able to sprawl, and he landed a beautiful leading, fading hook. And that's something that Thiago Santos was able to do to Jan, and something that Alex was able to do to Bruno. And he just overloaded him with strikes, you know. But it was a good performance, and Alex ended up defending takedowns. But I was more impressed with Bruno Silva, even though that Alex definitely won this fight, no questions asked. I was more impressed with Bruno Silva that he was able to get takedowns. You see what Bruno Silva, when he fought GM3, when he fought what's the guy's name? Brendan Allen, the GOAT. My guy Brendan Allen. You saw what happened to him, and Bruno was able to go 15 hard minutes with Alex Pereira. Bruno Silva would get killed by Jan Błachowicz. So if I'm Jan Błachowicz, I'm looking at that fight. Like, he can get takedowns. If he was just a lot smarter with his defense and not getting hit as much, he could have won that fight. And if he would have set up his striking a little better with, you know, feints and, you know, looking for angles, he could have won that fight. But yeah. And then for Alex Pereira, he did get taken down pretty easily, and it was the wrestling that set up some of those strikes that Bruno landed that helped him a lot in that fight, that made him look pretty good, in my humble opinion. But he did get hurt. And Alex showed his power. So that's a fight I kind of looked at. Was like, Alex he fought a somewhat well-rounded fighter where he kind of looked bad. He gave up some takedowns, and knowing Jan, how good of an offensive grappler he is, a guy that submitted Nikita Krylov, a guy that took down Adesanya twice and controlled him for like 2 whole rounds in the 4th and 5th, it looks pretty good for him. But a fight where I felt like he fought a well-rounded fighter and he looked amazing was the Sean Strickland fight. Sean Strickland is a great, well-rounded fighter. I know he just boxes, but the guy can wrestle, and the guy can defensively and offensively wrestle. I picked Sean Strickland to win this fight. He had every ability in his skill set to win this fight, but it was the power of Alex Pereira. And I love how Alex Pereira set up this lead hook. He was throwing this jab to the body all day, right? Let's talk. It's a quick fight, but let's talk about it. He threw the jab to the body all day, basically in this whole fight. That set up the lead hook, and boom, he got Sean so fucking bad, and he got him. And that is the power. That is the threat that Alex Pereira possesses against a well-rounded fighter. Is that, yeah, if you play with me in the striking game, if you don't get the takedowns fast enough, I will hurt you. And that's basically what can happen to Jan Błachowicz. He can get hurt here. He is not he's not the most durable guy in the world. He's been KO'd before. We saw it in the Thiago Santos fight. It's not impossible to beat this man. So that's also something to think about. But obviously, you know, Alex Pereira did his thing. He ended up winning the title after this fight against Adesanya, and he ran it back with Adesanya. And let's talk about that rematch. This was a good fight. This was Adesanya's career moment. This was his 8 Mile moment, like he likes to say. Everything was on the line for him. If he would have lost this fight, it would have been a bad look for him. But I thought Adesanya did, you know, he was more aggressive in this, I guess, fourth fight or whatever you want to call it. He was more aggressive. But Alex did his thing. I thought Alex was actually having a good fight, and he put a lot of good pressure. But Adesanya had his moments. A lot of good 1-2s, just a lot of good straight shots. But Alex was walking him down, and I thought he hurt him. In this finishing sequence where Adesanya KOs him, I thought Alex had him dead to ropes. Yeah, from the goddamn heavens, Adesanya KOs him, and good for Adesanya. It was a moment he needed for his career. And it defined him, you know? So, obviously, Alex Pereira coming off that KO loss. That's another thing to think about. He's coming off a KO loss. He got hurt bad in his last fight. Jan Blachowicz is a heavy hitter, and he can offensively wrestle. He's shown that. This could be some bad stuff for Alex Pereira. But journeyman Jan Blachowicz ain't winning this fight. Journeyman Jan Blachowicz, I say it right now, I will die before I see Journeyman Jan Blachowicz fight in another world title fight. Alex Pereira will end this man. I think Jan has the tools to win, but Jan said it in an interview. He said he'll strike with him a little bit, and then if he gets hurt, he'll wrestle. You do not want to get hurt to begin with. If you're doing that, then you will get finished. And I got Alex Pereira ending journeyman Jan Blachowicz. You will pay for that Luke Rockhold fight. You will pay for that Corey Anderson fight. You will pay for that Rakic fight. He hasn't paid for that Rakic fight. Alright? Alex Pereira will have his father in his corner and Glover to share. Don't forget what Glover did to you, buddy. Don't forget. We coming. It's over, journeyman Jan. Your time has come. Pack Watch is coming soon, baby. Jan Blachowicz, you will pay, and your fanboys, your little fake fanboys, will also pay. Goodbye and good night. I am picking Alex Pereira by second round TKO. There's levels to the striking game, and the legendary Polish clownish power will sit down finally. No 40-year-old man will put on a 15-minute wrestling clinic. Get over it. Hope you guys enjoy the video. Love you. Goodbye. Subscribe, like, comment, share the video. It's your boy, I'm out of here.
Never